call this meeting to order. Joe, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Livingston? Here. Mr. Leoni?
Here.
Mr. Tolmer?
Here.
Mrs. Belliver?
Here.
Mrs. Cimaroli?
Here. And you do have somebody on the agenda.
Thank you. Okay, Wayne Koppel?
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Dwayne Keppel. My wife and I own the property, the house down at 127 Washington Avenue, down on the north end here, right next to the dance studio. And we're just looking to see or find out what the plan is down there after the south end was already, done and completed. And, the proposing of what the north end is gonna, I did look on the drawings on the website a little bit, 4 lanes. I just didn't know how, what's gonna happen there. That's all. I'd wait to hear your answers.
Okay, I know that there's some ideas for what we want to do down there as far as a tight timeline.
Okay.
We don't really have one, next 10 years maybe.
Yeah, there's just a concept plan that was put together as a traffic plan.
Weren't you part of, with Joe Verducci?
Yeah, so, where it would affect you the most would be like, right as soon as you come into Bridgeville to like Presley Road.
Okay.
And we met with Collier Township and a couple of state representatives a few years ago, and they had some interest in, obviously coming down the hill, traffic's an issue. And so we did some drawings, what it would look like to maybe expand the lanes coming into Bridgeville and having a dedicated lane going up to Presley.
Okay.
But it's all just concept work right now. I think there is, they are starting again to talk to Collier, but not just Collier, but Heidelberg and Scott.
Correct, and that plan, even though it was a concept, it went into detail of what would be needed to make that turning lane into Presley Road and identified what right-of-way would be needed to be acquired. It did show like the front of those properties being pushed back and that sidewalk being pushed back closer to those buildings to accommodate the wide end.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
But essentially, that was it.
Right.
And that narrowed, like if you look at that concept plan, it will show right away that's required. In some areas it's a foot, some areas it's bigger, but in front of your property, it wasn't much more than the width of a sidewalk, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
But it's nothing to call gospel. It's
Right.
Yeah.
But I still think it's important that Verducci is meeting with, that group has started up somewhat again, right? Just
Correct.
The past couple of months.
There has been like a resurrection of the Route 50 Commission where the municipalities from here to Carnegie are talking about ways to improve the corridor, and there is conversation, as you're mentioning, that the north end traffic improvements are identified within the comprehensive plan. Collier Township is simultaneously in the process of updating their comprehensive plan, and there's discussions of them to do the same project within their plan so that both communities can work together.
Okay. So basically, what they're looking at is then, I guess, widening the bridge
Yes.
and then widening, the road, obviously. You're thinking only like where the sidewalk exists now, maybe, 10 feet in?
I don't,
Right.
I'm shooting from my hip.
Right, I hear you.
But
Sounds like the penguins.
it showed, that plan was for being a concept, it went into detail of the right-of-way that's necessary to accommodate 4 lanes there.
Okay.
And it varies on the property.
Sure.
So please, I can share that with you if you can't find it in the plan that you're looking at.
Okay. Okay. All right, thanks. All right, thank you. All right, thanks.
And don't be afraid to stop back and ask questions
No.
again.
Yeah, I won't.
Bob Fryer.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to speak. Primarily, I'd like to know more about the updating the comprehensive plan. From my understanding, understanding of it from the drawings and photographs I've seen, there's nothing substantial has been done or is included in the updating to solve Bridgeville's 50-year-old traffic congestion problem on Washington Pike. It's 3/4 of a mile in Collier to Station Street. It's a half a mile into South Fayette to Station Street, and it's probably a 1/4 of a mile sitting on New 4-lane Route 50. That's unacceptable. In my opinion, it's going to hurt the town economically. And I have, if I might continue for a moment, I have some questions about the 2 public meetings that I attended, I guess that were required. The first one was at the Bridgeville American Legion building, and there was a nice crowd, and I think they were well diversified. But I wanted to ask somebody, who invited the manager from Mount Lebanon Township to be at the meeting?
You're
The
talking,
steering committee.
you're talking, that meeting at the Legion was a business group meeting. It was not a public, there was a public meeting before that, down at Galen's lot. Then what we did, because we wanted to listen to the business owners, what
Yeah.
they required of us,
Yeah.
we went and invited the business owners. So that meeting at the Legion was only business people.
And
Okay, but who?
Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, that was not the commissioner, that he wasn't part of that.
No, he was the manager.
Right.
of
He was
Mount Lebanon Township.
He was the Main Street manager. That meeting was designated for like a business charrette session, and the committee talked to Allegheny Economic Development. Allegheny County Economic Development said that maybe it would be smart to have the Main Street manager from a neighboring municipality. There was a number of Main Street managers that were invited, but he was the only one that was able to attend.
Okay, the reason I'm mentioning that, and I'm not saying something that you don't already know, but 50, I guess in the late 60s or 70s, excuse me, when the Bridgeville exit was built on I-79, 75% of the consumer motors that used to drive down Route 19 through the Upper St. Clair Township and Mount Lebanon business districts disappeared. And so did several major buildings, and the South Hills Village Mall was sold. My point is, representatives from Mount Lebanon and Upper St. Clair have politically opposed solving the traffic congestion problem on Washington Pike, so our 3 businesses in Collier, Bridgeville, and South Fayette won't compete against theirs. Okay. I have another question about a public meeting. In the public meeting that was held pertaining to the updating the comprehensive plan at the fire department, that wasn't a genuine public meeting. And so in other words, there was, after the 10-minute scene presentation, as you remember, we were told there was going to be a public discussion about features that were presented to us in that by Macon Engineering. Excuse me. And right after the presentation, and then I stood up and asked the chairman from Macon, will we be able, there were about 60, 70 people there, I think. Excuse me, I have a bad throat. I was told that we would all be able to talk to each other. And what happened was, we weren't allowed to discuss the issue with each other. We were told by the chairman at the end of the presentation that anybody that wanted to give their opinion about what they had seen on the screen, we were to tell 4 of the Macon staff members in the back of the room. That's not a public hearing. A public hearing is for 70 people in the room to hear anybody in that room make suggestions for or against what's presented, and allow the listeners to comment. It's like us here this evening discussing things.
That meeting was not a hearing. It was a public meeting, a public information meeting.
It was, whatever it was, that's not the way you give the public a chance to voice their opinions of what you're trying to do. That's the only thing I'm making. But anyway, I'd suggest that you somehow reevaluate the solutions of the traffic congestion problem in your comprehensive plan by delaying it. I suggest that new members, the 3 new members of the Borough Council, take my advice and learn a great deal more about the updating and how it's going to affect us. And I might mention one other thing. I know that I'm just judging from the making engineering comments. I know they're talking about the things that the people in Bridgeville told the engineering people and the planning commission, et cetera, what they want. And they want pedestrian safety. They want the ability to walk through the community. They want bicycles to be able to move throughout the community. That's great, but keep in mind, the average person in this town doesn't know how the economy of the community has affected their lives. Our people don't have, and have never had the same. We have a great police department, fire department, ambulance service, some of the best in the region. But there are other things that are missing in the town that all 3 of the communities around us have. And I think we should reevaluate the comprehensive plan. And I'm not angry with you. I'm just saying to be logical and understand that 12,000 cars a day are avoiding driving through Bridgeville on Tom's Run Road, Presley Road, Tom's Run, and Saigon Road. That you should be opposed to that. All right. Thanks, Bob.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
with all due respect, Mr. Fryer,
Yes, sir. Good.
the comp plan was advertised for public comment. We received some public comments. Those public comments were then brought back to the planning commission, where the planning commission then digested and took those public comments into account. The consultant then made revisions to the comp plan based on those public comments. You did not provide public comments. You did not provide that. You're coming after the fact.
Excuse me.
So just,
I'm
but
just
you
I'm
still,
sorry.
you're right, there will be a public hearing. If you saw on the agenda, a public hearing is scheduled for April 8th. And the chairman wanted to explain how the meeting at the firehouse was. Everyone did have a chance to come and explain at the end. You did not do that. At the end of that meeting, they were upset.
That was a waste of time to explain to a
You've
layman
had many
engineer.
opportunities to do exactly what you're trying to do now after the planning commission has already voted. So I wish you took the opportunities that were outlined that for some reason you did not do.
Excuse me, Mike. I'm sorry.
But you know what I'm saying.
Well, let me respond to what you just said. First of all, I've voiced my opinion, I've voiced the opinion of 6 to 8 different city planners about how to solve the traffic congestion problem in Bridgeville to create a larger business district. So you know what my recommendations have been. Actually, they aren't mine. They were just the recommendations of 6 different professionals who all came up with the same solution.
And when
to
was
the,
this?
and that
The
was,
6 different professionals were when? Who had these?
they started in 2005 and went till, I forget the date. I thought I gave you guys
You know what,
copies.
you give us more than we can all absorb and
Well,
it
try reading it.
read it front to back, little green markers in it, Bob. And I know I am a little tired of hearing you talk as though you are the expert of all experts.
I have never talked like that.
It's exactly what you do, it's what you just did right now. You're telling us, this is the way this is how it should be. You're not asking, you're not suggesting, you're telling.
I'm telling you what almost a dozen city planners have taught me over 30 years. Those aren't my ideas. You can look on the internet. If you want me to send you the
No, I
actual,
do not. I
if
absolutely
you want the
do not.
quotations
I
from
just
6
spent a couple
experts.
hours working my way through this, so
Bob,
no, I do
Bob,
not want you to
Bob,
say.
you've shared your ideas. We'll take them under advisement
Good.
and
Yeah, excuse me. I would not to the 3D guys, if I were you, I would not vote to support the updating the comprehensive plan, so you wouldn't be held responsible for doing so. Thank you.
Jason
Very.
Ferry.
Sorry, I paid on. So you guys can tell me if this is not the appropriate place. As you guys know, it's gonna come to council, so I thought rather than deal around or try to hunt you individually, that I have some reservations and maybe just to ask you guys, hey, I'm not looking at catching anybody or anything, I just wanna kind of get, what your perspective is on a couple issues, if you don't mind sharing. And I'll preface, it's appropriate, asking questions here, Joe? You guys can, so I'll preface this by saying.
We'll give you 5 minutes or so.
Sure.
We've got a lot of business to take care of.
I got it. Well, I first want to say I respect all the efforts you've put in over a long period of time. I'm doing the best I can in my due diligence to digest, the plan and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of things I'm heavily in favor of. A couple of questions for you. Number one, would you mind giving me some insight as to your point of view on the kind of traffic calming recommendations and such?
Well, we've done part of that came out of the active transportation plan, which was done prior to the comp plan.
Right.
I'll speak first here and let everybody else kind of chime in. I think there's a delicate balance between pedestrian safety and moving traffic through Bridgeville. But somewhere in there, we've had a lot of close calls, especially down on Washington Avenue, down here on Bower Hill, that, it's a matter of if you sit anywhere, you drive from here to on Bower Hill Road, hardly anybody does 25. Okay? Hardly anybody does 25 on Washington Avenue. Bank Street's another one. It's a matter of, and that's a lot more of a residential neighborhood than Bower Hill so it's a matter of just trying to make the borough a little bit more friendlier to pedestrians and children and families and that type of thing.
Just a real quick, I spent a significant amount of time going through some of this because of the idea of doing artwork on the bumps, for lack of a better word, on the corners, and Pat de Blasio was here a couple of weeks ago, a month ago. This is a terrible idea, and I'm pretty sure he told us that he was going to be a murderer if we did this because he would run into somebody sure as heck. So it was very hyperbolic. So I spent a lot of time on it because I was like, okay, I don't understand why this is so problematic. And I can tell you from pretty much an entire afternoon's research, it depends on what city. I talked to the guy who's the head kahuna. He's the Joe, but I forget what his title is, of Austin, Texas. Great big city. I talked to people, big cities, little cities, medium cities. Terrible idea, great idea, love it. Austin's doubling down on it. They started doing this a decade ago. They're doing even more of it now. They love it. Then I read through this is a terrible thing. 2 people got hit. 1 person, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's all over the board. So there's a lot of that in this that we as an organization, we as a community have to kind of figure out what is the best way to do this. Do we do that or do we not do that? Do we take this research or do we take that research? So I'm going to say to ask us that question right now, you feel free to do some research because you will find it is.
I actually have. I'm not saying I have the answer. I know, and I'm trying.
It's a bugger.
If you look at the 2024 Department of Transportation recent research, They're saying that pedestrians are being hit at a greater rate, like 12% greater than they have been in the past 5 years. The other thing is too, a lot of it is not only, the main reason is distraction, all right? People are speeding and they're distracted. I see it every day on people coming down Bank Street and making that turn onto onto Station Street, okay? When I first moved to Bank Street 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I went up, I was shocked at the speed on Bank Street. And I sort of thought, okay, well, this can be improved. And I talked with the neighbors, and they said, oh, we've been bitching about speeding on Bank Street for 30 years, and nothing's ever done, all right? Now, if they were talking 5 miles an hour greater at speed, that's probably okay. And the chief of police explained to us the distance from a stop sign. We had studies done by PennDOT asking them to look at the speed indications on Bank Street. Number one, PennDOT said, Bank Street's fine. Speedways, speed time, they're fine, all right? Crosswalks, okay, we can improve the crosswalks. But, you know, we try to come to an idea that we can do speed, normal speed limits, 25, which is what's posted on Bank Street. And at the same time, improve people crossing the street. I mean, you have to look at what's going on, you know, Goodwill Villas right there. There's a person in a wheelchair that scoots himself across Bank Street almost twice a day, all right? And anyway, it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a compromise, all right?
It's a complex and nuanced issue for sure. I don't want to hijack anything.
It's not an easy thing, but it's one of those things that we're, you know, trying to look at and evaluate.
Right.
Is the plan. Thank you.
No, you guys said,
I have a question, I think. What's the concern? Is the concern that we've made a commitment in the comp plan that of a definitive action to be taken that's going to be detrimental to the borough? Because I don't think we've laid out.
yeah, no, I don't think I was really clear on the position as to what you were recommending. You know if I still am, to be honest with you. which I'm fine with. It's a complex issue, there's no doubt about it.
I mean, the other thing is too, is if we do anything on Main Street, I mean, there's got a lot of things like the crosswalk that is discussed in the comprehensive plan, that is a sample of a island in the middle of Washington Avenue, okay? There's a lot of different ways that can be done. The chief of police has already discussed what his concerns were, all right? It doesn't mean that we're going to do it. It means that if we can make it safer for people to cross that particular section of the road, all right, then what's the issue with making it safer to cross? So,
But I don't want to ask all my questions because I don't want to hijack you.
Okay,
Thank you for allowing.
Well, I mean,
what else you got?
we can,
What else you got?
yeah.
All right, well, I'll throw a couple more. Can you kind of give me your thoughts on, like, why you think the zoning, like, some advantages or disadvantages to changing the zoning?
So, I mean, we have a big piece of property right over here that can be developed. And the way our zoning rules, our zoning laws are right now, there's a multitude of things that go in there. And that size of a piece of property that can be developed would be a game changer in this town. And you can't roll the dice on it. I mean, it's one thing if this town was totally built out and you have one building and, you know, it's zoned a certain way and you put it up there and people are like, I don't really like the way that building looks. But if you roll the dice and that gets put something that doesn't fit what you want in your town, then that's there for the next 100 years. You know?
I mean, do you want a Sheets there?
Not particularly.
Okay, right now, you can put a sheet there.
All right. Well, again, I don't want to take up too much.
Okay, I mean,
Thank you.
we can, some of us can hang around afterwards and
Okay.
try and. Okay, moving on here. Adoption of minutes for the February 26, 2024 meeting.
I make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, comments, corrections? All in favor of adopting the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, new business. Vesper Corner plan of lots is re-subdivision of lots 8 and 9 in Bridgemont Plan number 6. Lot line revision between 114 Vesper Street and 1111 Ridge Road. Both properties are owned by Mr. Dennis Bott. Discussion, request planning commission recommendations, consider action to recommend the plan for approval or not. So, is Mr. Bott here? Do you have anything to add?
No, it seems to be a simple, logical subdivision, and I figure that you're all logical and there'd be no problem. So,
Okay, all right.
did you look at the plan?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
I don't know who designed those lots back then, but I don't know what he was on, but
I didn't even know it had a name.
is there any, do you have any questions for me? I mean, it's pretty simple.
I mean, it's
No, it's
just
pretty
straight in this
straightforward.
line.
Okay, thank you.
If only everything was that.
Yeah.
The borough engineer completed their review of the subdivision, plan proposed lot line to the property, and they don't have any issues with it.
No, it complies with the Salvo ordinance and zoning ordinance.
So,
With no revisions needed on that plan that you have. As is, it's compliant.
so we need a motion to,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
You'd be a motion to approve adoption to Borough Council.
motion to approve borough council. Mike made the motion,
I'll
Justine
second.
had a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Old business. Project update. Comprehensive plan public hearing is scheduled for Monday, April 8th, 2024 at 6:30 in the council chambers.
Wait, you're on one? Am I looking at the?
No, look for this.
Right about this thing.
That's the draft minutes.
Okay, well, here, that sounds good to me.
Okay. Project updates, active transportation plan, crosswalk improvements, PennDOT, LTAP, request approval for an engineer from Panonis Harrisburg office will be here in Bridgeville late in May to review.
Good.
You have any?
At the last meeting, during the quarterly implementation discussions for the active transportation plan, the consensus was that for the next quarter, focus should be on how to improve pedestrian crossings within the borough. The discussion was seek advice from PennDOT. So a request was made to PennDOT's LTAP, which is the Local Technical Assistance Program. If your application's accepted at their cost, it'd be free to the borough. They send out an engineer or a planning consultant to look at your problem and find ways to fix it. They retain a traffic engineering firm called Panoni. A fellow from their Harrisburg office will be traveling to Bridgeville one day late May, and the date isn't set yet, but we'll look at a number of areas within the borough that we had concern, and the goal is that hopefully whatever he recommends, for example, I gave him 2 areas, the most problematic, and then we could use that as a mold, would be the Bar Hill corridor, like Dairy Delight, Railroad Street here would be one, and then the middle of Washington Avenue would be the other one. He asked that I do a traffic study beforehand, and our speed machine does traffic counts and does the speed counts, and will give me the averages. And I need to put it out on a Monday, pull it on Friday, so that there's clear data for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that they can use for each intersection or each crossing. So I worked out with the chief that over the next month, you'll see that move around so that we can get that clear data so that everything's ready to go for when the fella comes into May. And hopefully we'll have recommendations come back June or July. They had really quick turnarounds when we went to them for the Preston Road and Parrott Street intersections. So it's been a nice program that we were able to take advantage of.
Two questions. This intersection of Washington Avenue and Bower Hill, is that going to be one to be taken into consideration?
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number two, does that unit need to be calibrated? Do we know that it's calibrated?
It's a radar machine. Let me ask.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask.
Okay, anything else?
It isn't calibrated to the degree like AccuTrack.
Correct.
You know,
Right.
like we
Right.
have, or like the speedometer, like those are
Right,
calibration.
right.
But like, the radar machine isn't used for enforcement, so like,
Correct.
yeah, so
Right. But,
so the degree of calibration, let me get you.
and can we keep that data?
Oh yeah, we have all that. So every time when they move that around, if you remember last year, the chief of police presented the data, because some of the speeding concern is more perception versus reality,
Right.
and went over that, and they make an official report on it, and that is retained.
Okay, all right.
Anything else? Okay. McLaughlin Run Park Meadow Project, update from the borough manager.
I had up there was the formal, basically this is the scope of work that DCNR is going to be moving forward with. It is definitely this year. She just don't know if it's going to be summer now or fall. So it's looking like maybe fall. I would hopefully prefer fall.
Yeah.
You know, planting in the middle of July isn't going to do very good. So it is looking fall. It's on track. She had a couple of changes on the seed mix that was proposed, and that was basically what they reviewed, what Mackin put together with their contractors that do the project, and they had a couple of things that they were hoping that could be done just so that it's, I guess, manageable to plant. Because some things look better on paper than reality. So the guys that actually do it came back and said, there's been discussion with how to control the knotweed. There's been a back and forth that their hopes is that they could put the first treatment of knotweed herbicide mitigation work into that scope of work, so it would save us a little bit of money. I did reach out to a number of companies that do the knotweed herbicide application, and I got one proposal for, it really wasn't too bad, for 1 year's treatment to mitigate it, and hopefully it would control it a lot better and keep it at bay, was about $3,000. So I didn't think that was too bad. No, it's a special herbicide for waterways, and that's why we went with a contractor, because we didn't want to do that risk that with ourselves. So we have a proposal to do it, but the first treatment isn't until July. So if we can get it accommodated into that scope and they pay for it, that's what we're trying for. But if not, we've got a little bit of time that the borough would have to pick that up. But the first thing is like the borough would have to like cut it down, and then this guy comes in and sprays it. So, but it's definitely a July treatment. It wasn't now. And I don't think it's like you totally ever get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, I think you just slowly slow it down. The Rotary grant on the Rotary grant for the interpretive signs, we were able to get, DCNR uses this company up in the North Hills that make those real nice signs that you see in the state parks. So I got the information on that. The hardest thing now is I have to write up 4 interpretive signs with the pictures and that. So Stephanie from DCNR has been helping me, and I have 3 of the 4 pretty much written out. I have one like on the watershed, on the McLaughlin watershed, one on you know, just what's a meadow, what's a lawn and meadow conversion, what's the benefits, you know, of all that. So it's actually, once you start putting it together, it's like, oh, this is gonna be a pretty nice, thing. And, the 4 signs come out to be right around $5,000, which is the Rotary grant amount, so it all works out well.
Nice.
And, I just gotta get that to them, hopefully, within the next, like, 2 weeks. Yeah, the Rotary will, Lions will, Berlin, so we'll all have honors there. So the game plan is to get these done, you know, and, up to that company within the next 2 weeks, so that their order's in, so we can use up the Rotary money before then. And then the Lions Club's taking care of the benches, and we'll help with that, but, it seems like everything's now on track for definitely this year, and hopefully it is fall, but we'll be able to use the Rotary money before your end of May deadline.
Perfect.
Joe, have there been any discussions about replacing the bridge that walks over from the parking lot on the ball field end?
Not that I know of. It makes sense, but, I've never been part of this conversation.
Didn't the BAA put that in? Somebody private put it in.
Years
That was
ago?
originally BAA that put it in, and then we had that flood that took it down. And then they engineered it again, with steel beams.
Oh,
And then
okay.
after that, the flood came through again and shifted it, so then it just took it down.
So you think now that we have the meadow to take in that water, it might be sustainable to replace it. Again, I think it'd be nice to have that as an entryway to.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's, the other thing is we got the trash rack in there now too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's after where the,
No, it's
Mhm.
before.
It's before it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's right at it.
Yeah.
So it might be something to look at.
Yep.
Okay, downtown zoning district amendment, RFP has been advertised, proposals are due May 9th, 2024. Anything to add, Joe? Okay. Shade trees, spring 2024 tree vitalized application has been awarded, 17 trees for Cook School Park. Community planting date is this coming Saturday, March 30th at 9 a.m. Anything to add, Joe?
We'll have breakfast, we're gonna donuts and coffee, and the contractor started working today to do all the site prep. Some of you may remember what we went through down on Baldwin Street, we were digging into old building stuff. It's nice as the contractor here is doing all the excavation ahead of time and putting the new topsoil in the holes, so it should be a fairly smooth process. Just show up.
we're gonna get spoiled.
And it's gonna be coffee, donuts, and Pepsi, right?
Whatever we gotta do.
Bloody Mary?
Well, no.
Let's not get carried
That's a
away.
bridge.
Okay, moving along here. Bridgeville Home and Garden Workshops, composting and rain barrels, Wednesday, April 3rd at the library. I know that there's a sign up online for that. I don't know, you said there's,
As of last week, there was about 17 people for both, so it's taking traction.
Earth Day. Earth Day spring cleanup, spring community cleanup, Saturday, April 20th, meeting 10 a.m. at the Borough Building. You got any additional?
No, I think we're gonna have the gloves and the garbage bags, everything here, right?
Yeah, we made a request through PennDOT to get the gloves, bags, vests,
Right,
stuff.
and just meet here and then, decide where everybody wants to go, and that's it. And then, I guess we're gonna leave the garbage where it's collected.
Yes,
as
or if
opposed-
we could try to put piles on corners or something, just so
Okay.
that it's.
Is there targeted areas that we wouldn't go to, or
Well,
is it?
that's what I'm thinking that I'll make up.
All right.
I can call you and let you know.
I'm
We can talk.
just curious if we're just gonna, hey, get here, where do you wanna go?
Right,
So
Well-
so-and-so's house.
From last year, we pretty much know that, where people want to go, the parks and the hillside by, going up to Northwest parking lot. That was your recommendation last year.
Northwest part.
Like by Triangle Park.
Right.
To the,
Right.
that
Okay,
whole
well,
thing.
we, meaning me and my I mean, I'm sure some engineer figured this out. Guy was blown away when he saw those posts that are along the side in the parking lot roughly behind LaBellevue. Suckers are freaking enormous.
Oh.
Jeez. If that doesn't make that wall stay, nothing will, I don't think. But there's a lot of trash down there now, so we thought we would go up there.
Can we find out the train schedule at all? Can they provide that at all?
It's usually like 10 and 3 or 11 and 3, pretty much.
You're talking about this one here.
Yeah, but it's not on weekends.
No.
Isn't it?
No, it's typically during the week. It's like Tuesday and Thursdays or.
It's every night at 3 in the morning.
That's this one here.
Different train.
Different train. Okay.
Just to add to that, I'm gonna order some seeds, some flower seeds, like a native blend, and make some seed bombs to pass out to whoever comes and help with the
Okay.
Where are you suggesting we put seeds?
like big home. So like we're gonna have some kids that clean, help clean
Sort
up,
of
and they can
thank you
take the
for
seed
doing
bombs
this.
home and just,
Got it.
plant them in their
I'm
yard.
thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm supposed to pick up trash and plant seeds?
No.
Well, it's kind of like planting trees and cutting trees, you know?
Apparently. Just rip up a weed and throw a seed in there.
Yeah, there you go.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Jason, we have a little time left if you'd like to.
Mind if I throw some out? Well, again, I'm just looking for your
Sure.
perspective. So, from what you said earlier on the zoning, here's my only concern. Like, we had 1,000 businesses who wanted to come into Bridgeville. We could be as exclusive as we wanted to, but if a business wanted to put in somewhere a light industry and they want to make widgets, I don't think we'd want to turn that away. I don't know what maybe I'm misreading some of that. I don't know.
No, you don't want to turn away either, but you also don't, how light of a manufacturing facility do you want? Do you want that whole parking lot to be just one big, large manufacturing facility on your
Main drain.
on your main corridor, business corridor?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to see, like Jason, you're the perfect example of what a business should be on our main street. It's a hardware store, it's well known, and you want stuff like that on your main street. You want a mix of stuff like that. You have light business at the gun shop, but he has a retail store in the front, and he has light manufacturing and manufacturing on both sides of the street.
Right.
So you do have light manufacturing on the main drag, but you also have a storefront too. So how do you? If it's a light manufacturing, do they have a store that they put in front, and you still have the manufacturing? You have Cox Woodworking, they're making stuff, but they also have a storefront.
Yeah, but they're not making stuff here.
No, they're not.
No,
No.
it's a storefront.
Okay. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? What do you?
Maybe with contingencies, that's the only thing that, I look at, because, I walk Bridgeville, I'm trying to think where, there's only a handful of places that stuff can go.
Right.
Either the other side of my building, or the other side of the tracks, which is where, Reliable is, or
Yeah.
First Home.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this whole end down here, and that's really kind of, it's definitely not big enough for a gas station, but where do you want to go? And the property's not owned by the borough. It's
Right.
like, the grant we're getting to stop the flooding and stop all the things that are gonna increase the value of that down there. There's the L&T granite down there.
Mm-hmm.
There's of course the skating rink and everything else.
Right.
down there. And I just don't know where, can we continue having commercial industrial in the back there, where
And that's
the
and
motors,
that's- So, like I said, we're not, we look at zoning, we're not, we always talk about Bridgeville's landlocked, everybody else is building up around us, Upper St. Clair, Collier and South Fayette, they can build wherever they want, they're building houses, everything. We don't have that opportunity, so we have to be very, very diligent on if we do have something we can develop, we gotta make sure we get it right. We can't afford to make a mistake. Yes, Bob?
Excuse me. You're exactly right. but the focus of the updating the business district is from Bar Hill Road on Washington Avenue to the railroad bridge going overhead. That plane is 10 feet lower than Bar Hill Road, and the recommendation of the 6 traffic companies that apparently no one has listened to in the past 15 years is to make Washington Avenue and Shady Avenue 2 one-way streets.
Okay.
Which would, let me finish, which would be safer for people to cross, by the way, because they only look one way. But all 6 engineering firms suggested developing the area along from Shady Avenue west.
All
And
six,
you're-
Bob, all 6, that's wrong, because all 6 of them, one of your 6 was Macklin, who is in who we're working with, and they are saying no. So all 6 are not all 6.
Why would they change their opinion?
Maybe because two-way coupling was something that was popular 40 years ago.
No way.
That would have worked in 1970, 1975, 76.
Right.
The bridge was expanded and grew, and South Edge grew, so I mean, it's.
And Bob, this isn't about traffic. We're not talking about traffic here.
It's
No,
all.
Bob, we're not talking about
It's all
traffic.
about traffic.
Okay. Let's just
This was-
stick with the business.
Jason had a question about the zoning.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
So the other question that I have, that there are other areas in which light manufacturing can occur if it's not on Washington Avenue, correct? I mean, isn't McLaughlin Run Road set zone for,
Everywhere that's zoned M, you can have it now.
Yeah.
okay,
The recommendation of the comp plan was that, just like you said, Mr. Sarasnik's business is the ideal business that the people who did the survey thought Main Street should be.
right.
And that recommendation from the people was to preserve Main Street. So to extend a downtown feel is not to have light manufacturing that don't accommodate walk-in business.
Yeah, if there was one,
So that's why the zoning would have been changed.
if there was one overarching theme of the comprehensive plan, of talking to everybody that came to a meeting, did a survey, was they wanted to keep Bridgeville with a small town charm, and they wanted to keep a Main Street.
If you look at that map, everything that's red, you can put your light manufacturing and warehouses that,
Right.
the widgets can go everywhere in red. So the game plan, once the recommendation was, keep your Main Street, a Main
Right.
Street.
The one comment was, they said, in Allegheny County, there's 115 municipalities, and about, like 10 of them have a Main Street out of something, there was some ridiculous number. It's very rare what Bridgeville has. And it is the only thing that's set, when you have Upper St. Clair and Scott Township and Collier and South Fayette, they don't have that. And that's the only thing that's one thing that separates us from them, that makes us unique. Stop, Bob, just quit shaking your head.
No, that's ridiculous.
You're ridiculous.
Matter of fact, what do you want to do? You want to preserve Bridgeville as a museum and have it economically
Bob.
in trouble 5 to 10 years from now?
Okay. Jason, you got another?
Yeah, I'll throw a couple, and again, I don't want to totally go back. I'm so sorry. So there's a thing about business director position. I was curious as to you, when you guys put that in, were you envisioning that as a short-term thing, a long-term thing?
Okay, it's not something that we did. It's something that was brought forth by the consultant after doing an economic study. And I think that it's one of those things that was talked about at the business meeting, or the business information meeting that we had, about how to try and make Bridgeville better. Good.
Joe and I met with the Allegheny County Development, right?
County Department of Economic Development.
Okay, and they also had the person, the two people who were invited. The person from Carnegie that interfaces between businesses and potential new businesses, okay? Who's been very successful for the past, 10 years or something like that. However, her funding came from the bigger businesses within Carnegie after the flood, all right? So she was funded by that group who continually paid for her, and you probably know better than I do about the changes in Carnegie, because I was gone for so many years, all right? So I know they morph into different things. However, she was responsible for knowing what retail businesses were available, what business spaces were available, and interfacing with people that were actually looking for small spaces in a community, all right? Then we met with a woman from Canonsburg who is, she's a part-time person, and her responsibility is to know what is available for retail renters within Canonsburg and finding businesses that will rent in Canonsburg, all right? So, when we thought about it, it's like, does Bridgeville have anybody like that? No. So it was just a thought thrown out there that, maybe if we want to look at what potential there is and make that known to other people that want to rent in a small community, maybe it would be an idea to think about, and that's as simple as that. So
it gives me no insights.
And if it's in the comprehensive plan, it does not mean that it's set in stone. But in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, we might need it, we might have a need for that, or we might be so full of businesses that we don't need a need for that. So you don't, but it's a.
Nobody right now has a phone on what's available in Bridgeville, as far as I know, right? I mean, you see a rental sign in a shop and go, oh shit, where'd that happen, all right? So nobody really knows in Bridgeville what's available, all right? And so it's just a thought that somebody could keep track of that and have a list of people that say, okay, I want 1,200 square feet for a nail store, Okay, here's Bridgeville, look at Bridgeville. Here's the benefits of being in Bridgeville. So, all right?
Give you
Sean
something,
has good.
it'll give you something to eat, so.
I appreciate that, and by the way, I realize it's the consultants who ended up putting the stuff in the plan. But it's ultimately you guys who approved it, so I assume you guys had some thoughts, and I appreciate the insight.
Yeah, I mean, the comprehensive plan, the old comprehensive plan, for the last few years, sat on a shelf. And, it was outdated, needed to be updated. And so it's just a matter, the comprehensive plan is a planning tool for us, for you guys, to how do we deal with Bridgeville, looking down the road 20 years. I mean, we don't want to we try not to have another situation like in the 70s when something should have been done about traffic and that can just got kind of kicked down the road, and here we are. And so, it's a matter of taking a look at what we've got. The plan basically took a look at what we've got and where do we want to go from here. And just because they put it in the plan doesn't mean we have to follow it, but at least lays a foundation for discussions and some ideas for, okay, this idea doesn't work. However, if we tweak that a little bit and maybe go in a little different direction because economic times have changed or whatever, what other changes have happened around us in other communities, it's a piece of documentation that we've at least got a foothold on, and we can move that forward.
The other thing is too, and it was proven after we did the active transportation plan, how much laying a foundation and identifying things that, as a community, you want to have done, all right? When Joe looks at grants, or one of us looks at the potential grant money that's out there from private industries or feds or the state, you know, and they see that there is a potential grant out there for looking at business development in a small community, you know? We already laid that foundation, and we now have that foundation that can say, when Joe does the grants, okay, we already identified that this is something that we want to do. And we may find a grant that identifies it, and we can get money from grants. So, I mean, that's how a lot of the traffic things in Bridgeville have gotten done, because the foundation was laid with the active transportation plan.
And Joe, in his magnificent job of writing grants, is just raking them in.
Right.
Good job, Joe, seriously.
So,
Well, he's great, and that's, to your point earlier, past plans maybe weren't as effective. I think we have to be pretty hypercritical of this plan, because we have Joe, and he's gonna get it done, like the map that we lay out. So that's why I'm trying to ask questions and do my due diligence, you know, things that I kind of want to just know more insight in.
And the other thing too, it's a plan. You know, if Joe can't go out and get a grant until 7 people up here tell him to go get a grant.
Or, you know, a council.
That's the 7 people. There's
Oh,
only
yeah,
5 of us.
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, 7 people up here, not us. There's only, you know, so there's even, if there might be something in that plan, it's like, you know what, that's nice, but that's just a pipe dream. You know, we don't really feel like we need that. But if there's something in there that you really want, then you guys can, you know, the council votes on it.
Well, thank you for allowing me.
Anything else?
No, that's good.
Okay.
Too much of your time.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? Next meeting is Monday, April
Monday,
22nd.
I saw that there.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
Monday.
isn't that a song?
Yes, yes. I would take a motion here, unless anybody's got anything going once, going twice. Take a motion that,
I'll make a motion now.
okay, motion,
Second.
second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?